Hi, Natalie.
Hello, good evening. Look, I love a sunburnt country. I love a multicultural country. But can the government please explain to me how the migration numbers are good for our economy when it adds to our housing crisis?
Jim.
Well, thanks very much, Natalie, for your question. Obviously, this is very topical at the moment, given the events of the last week or so. What we saw in our migration system was after COVID, the international students and the long-term tourists came back faster and in greater numbers than people anticipated. And so that did create a temporary spike in what's called the net overseas migration number. The good news for anybody who would like to see that return to more normal levels is that net overseas migration next year will be half what it was last year. And in addition to that, the government is winding down the permanent migration numbers as well, from 190 where they are to 185,000. And when it comes to housing, I know that there is concern in the community about a lack of housing and about congestion, and all of these things are legitimate things to be worried about, and we are too, and that's why we're investing billions and billions of dollars in building homes for Australians to make it easier to build and rent and buy, and also investing substantially in local infrastructure.
Okay, and Natalie, I'd just love to hear your perspective. Would you like to see immigration levels lower?
I would like to see the numbers lowered while we fix this housing crisis.
Okay, and Treasurer, you are lowering them, but not as much, and that's the elephant in the room as the opposition leader has announced. Are you willing to go lower? Why have you decided on the figure you've decided on?
Well, there are two important differences between the way that we're going about it and the way that the opposition leader has proposed. Now, first of all, and probably the main difference is we're doing it in a responsible and considered and methodical way, an evidence-based way that says that we can get net overseas migration down by ending the pandemic visa and making sure that students come here are legitimately students and not using it as another way into the country. That's the responsible, methodical way to go about it. And the alternative is what I think on Thursday night was an opposition leader who didn't want to tell you where the nuclear reactors are going to go, didn't want to tell you how he's going to pay for all of his promises by attacking Medicare again or coming after pensions and payments again, and so he pulled a number out of the air. Now, I'll give you one thing which makes that last point that I was making very clear. When Peter Dutton was the immigration minister of this country, he had the permanent intake higher than what we've set in the budget. And I think that goes to the fact that he is looking for reasons to be divisive, I think dangerous. We are being responsible and methodical and considered in getting those numbers down.
Quick question from me. The Grattan Institute says it will cost $34 billion over coming decades. That's Peter Dutton's plan. Is that what Treasury estimates as well?
Oh, well, we do numbers on our own policies.
So you don't know if it's $34 billion?
We are pretty confident that what Peter Dutton is proposing will cost billions of dollars to the economy, but that doesn't even capture the attack on the skills base of this country, the fact that we need nurses, we need builders.
Okay, so let me just pick you up on that. So if you're also lowering the immigration rate, will it also cost the economy billions?
We're not proposing to lower it, the permanent intake, by as much as he is, and that goes to Natalie's question a moment ago, but we are lowering it.
And will it cost the budget, just like you say his proposal will?
No, because what we're talking about is making sure we've got the skills that we need in our hospitals and on our building sites. You know, in a perfect world, you know, we would have a labour market, a labour force, which would build the homes that we need and look after people in our hospitals and in our aged care. But the reality is we need a combination. We need to train people, big priority in the budget, millions of dollars invested in training. But we also need to have a migration system where we get those numbers down, but where we manage it in a responsible and methodical and considered way, and not the kind of divisive way that our opponents are going about it.
Thanks for your question. A lot of you had concerns about the housing situation, and nationwide, most Australians say they are worried government doesn't have the answers. That's according to an exclusive YouGov survey commissioned by Q&A in the wake of the budget, with just a quarter of those polled expressing any level of confidence that the spending will deliver secure and affordable housing. More results from that poll later in the show, and full results on the ABC News website. But Treasurer, you've allocated billions to housing, and yet our poll showed that people don't think it's going to have the impact it should. Does that worry you?
Oh, I'm pretty realistic about those polls after budgets. I've learned to be realistic about them. But what I would say to anyone who's worried, as we are, about a lack of housing in our local communities, including, frankly, our own local community, is that we invested more money in building homes on Tuesday night than in all of the 9 budgets of our predecessors combined. And that, I hope, is a demonstration of our willingness to come at this problem in a meaningful way. You know, $6 billion new dollars in the budget, $32 billion of investment. We've only been here for 2 years. And that is because we recognise, first of all, there are too many people sleeping in cars. There are too many people sleeping in tents, including across the street here. And we don't have enough homes. And the housing pipeline is not what we need it to be. And we don't have enough builders and construction workers. We've got a lot of catching up to do after a decade of neglect. And so much of what we are trying to do in the budget and with our billions and billions of dollars of investment is to build more homes for Australians, to make it easier to rent and build and buy, because we've got a housing shortage in this country, and it will only be dealt with Commonwealth investment, involvement from states and local governments and territories, and by making sure that we get the labour force right, the skills base right in this country as well.
Okay.